The best apple butt cheeks you've ever seen.
People tell me.
They tell me all the time.
The golden apple, if you will.
The best butt cheeks they'd ever seen. The absolute best. I was waiting for you to give us the clap.
When things are wrong, I'll be by your side. Even when you want to cry.
Stop it. Welcome.
Welcome
To the Naked Apple. In all of its naked glory. All of it. Well, it's been a week. Some deep thoughts have occurred and some imploding ideas, and may or may not have all culminated into a Titanic distraction.
Can you make any more ship puns?
Okay, I want to know what was making that banging.
It was the orcas.
It was the orcas with their pots and pans.
Send more billionaires.
Honestly, it could be any number of things. I mean, who knows how many ships are down there and stuff floating around, banging into each other. It's
my
not-
understanding is like the ocean makes noise.
Oh, yeah,
There's-
a lot.
there's
My
stuff.
understanding is the
There's
ocean
stuff
makes noise.
down there.
There's a
You
lot
heard it here first,
of noise.
The ocean makes noise.
You actually were telling the truth.
I do that quite a lot.
Anyway.
People are always surprised.
We'll talk about our deep regret in falling for the submarine distraction later.
I regret nothing. Those memes are gold.
They are worth every penny.
I have me and a buddy at work have been sending them back and forth to each other all week, and it's been great.
I missed that corner of the internet.
It's absolutely fantastic.
It is.
Are there any that make sense without a like verbally?
Let me see. Not really. Most of them are pictures.
That's what makes a meme.
That's what makes a meme. Yes. There's one that says, "Come on, go see the Titanic," and it's the dude poking something with a stick, and the picture in the bottom is Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, Numbnuts up in Canada. Turdo. Yeah, that one,
yes.
Turdo. There's another one that's a picture of the little helicopter playground thing that you can buy and put in your backyard. It's a little metal helicopter for your kids. It says helicopter tours of volcanoes, $250,000. Book yours now. Another one that's a picture of one of the big propane gas tanks, like one of the like huge ones. It says, for $2,500, I can take you to explore the bottom of the Ohio River to see a 1989 Buick Century. Departure is June 30th. Book now.
Hank Hill was the first to sign up for that one.
Right. I saw one that had the same picture, but it was from somebody in Utah, and it said, I'll give you a tour of the bottom of Utah Lake and take you to the wagon that Porter Rockwell drove into the lake in whatever year that was.
Why? Because he could.
Because he could. That's why. It was pretty great. So there's some fun ones. There's some fun ones.
Humor abounds on the interwebs.
Yes, it does.
If you're willing to trudge through crap to find it.
The number of people in the last few weeks that have commented on shit that I've said or posted that are like, why are you laughing at this? People died. I'm like, yeah, that's tragic. But they died stupidly, which is also funny.
They're the next installment of the Dumb Ways to Die skits.
What happened with that submarine should be an entire movie of just called the Darwin Award.
Yeah.
That's it. Not awards, not plural. The Darwin Award.
Someone shared a picture from inside the submarine, and they showed that the one of the monitors that they use was screwed into the hull of the ship. The fiberglass hull of the ship.
Yeah, my understanding is that's what failed is the hull. Right, it was made out of like a material.
It had titanium end caps and a carbon fiber.
And they screwed something into it?
Into the carbon fiber.
That literally
hull.
could have been what caused it to implode.
Most likely.
Within an hour and a half of their departure.
Yeah, within an hour and a half of departure.
So 3 days of news for something they knew within an hour and a half of their departure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's fun.
We'll dive into that a little later.
We'll dive into
I'm not going anywhere. Just kidding.
All I've got to say on the subject is that hope floats.
There was no hope on board.
There was no hope on board. She decided to call in sick that day.
That's a shame.
Well, I think on that note, it's time for
our vitamin B.
Time for our vitamin B, yes. Welcome to your vitamin B.
Thank you.
We have some stories for you today.
Are they good ones?
Possibly.
Excellent.
We're going to start out with the best one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles move to Florida to escape New York pizza oven ban. In related news, Trump indicted in New York for eating pizza cooked in wood-burning oven.
I mean, as he should have been.
As he should have been. New York City mandates all pizza must be cooked under a bathroom hand dryer. Because that is the only way for zero-emission pizza.
Is it, though? Because what's
is.
that hand dryer hooked up to?
Coal plants, probably.
Oh, darn it.
Moving on to make fun of people on the right, Matt Walsh goes on Jeopardy, responds to every clue with, "What is a woman?"
And he won.
In other news, after his tragic Jeopardy incident, Matt Walsh claims he was assaulted with cis slur at Subway by drag queen attackers shouting, "This is Pride Country." Speaking of gay people, man locks himself in bedroom to secretly watch Pitch Perfect again. KJP throws smoke bomb and disappears when asked about Hunter Biden texts. I say KGP because I can't actually remember how to pronounce her
Green
name.
Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, that one.
That one. I saw someone where they edited the press conference and they made it so she's just slowly sinking down behind the podium as they're asking the question.
Pedophile jailed for flashing kids at playground, kicking himself for not doing it at a pride parade instead.
Yep, there's a window of opportunity there, and
There is.
missed it by that much.
There is. Speaking of pedophiles, DOJ finds no evidence of bribery in photo of Biden holding sign reading, "We'll trade political favors for cash."
Well, he never actually did it. Oh.
Zelensky breathes sigh of relief after failed coup, guarantees war with Russia will continue.
He keeps stuffing his pockets. I hate that joke.
You know,
In other
once you
Ukraine-
get past the tragedy of it, it's hilarious.
In other Ukraine news, Pentagon announces they found another $40 billion that fell between couch cushions.
Just happened to be there.
Just happened to be there. And last but not least, Russian mercenaries steal Putin's podium in brazen coup attempts.
Now it's official.
That's not how coups work.
That's an official coup.
And this has been your Vitamin B. Yeah, that was refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it would be fun to put some Russia Civil War stuff in here, but it ended before I could even look into what was going on. So I guess it's nothing. Aside from, what was it? The Department of Defense said, oh, here's $6.2 billion that we miscalculated. And then the group that was attacking Russia from Russia was paid $6.2 billion.
Huh.
But that's neither here nor there. Anyway. Yeah, so a deep dive on this week's bushel requires a deep soundbite to start us off, and that would be something that goes a little something like this. He's not even paying attention.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was reading one of your articles.
Deep in thought.
I was. You wanna run that by me one more time?
Well, I was just saying that the deep dive we've got on this week's bushel deserves a special deep soundbite.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Georgie. Thanks.
We all float down here, Georgie.
So, last week we talked about this billionaire sub that was going to run out of oxygen soon. And just like everybody else, we didn't know what the Coast Guard already knew, and that is that the sub imploded Sunday shortly after disembarking. So yeah, they waited until Thursday to let us know that, it was all pointless. Oh, but you spent resources on it? Yes, we did. Even though you knew it was a lost cause. Yeah.
Why?
What's... I don't know why.
Do they have an official story? Like, we all know it's a distraction, but like, do they have an official story as to why they spent resources, even though they knew that that the sub had already imploded and like there's no bodies to recover and so forth?
Well, the Navy detected an anomaly consistent with an implosion or explosion in acoustic data taken from the same area where the Titan went missing. A senior Navy official told NPR in a written statement. A second official confirmed to NPR that it had registered that acoustic data on Sunday. While not definitive, this information was immediately shared with the incident commander to assist with the ongoing search and rescue mission. The decision was made to continue our mission as a search and rescue and make every effort to save the lives on board.
So they're saying that they didn't know for sure it was an implosion?
We recognize that there was a big boom that happened around where the sub was
But I mean,
at.
it could have been a whale explosion.
At the same time that they reported they lost contact with the sub.
Gotcha.
We decided we would continue to search for survivors from said underwater boom deep underwater.
Yeah, I have to say, like, from the beginning of that story, I was pretty certain that, like, most likely they had imploded. Like, I did lay out the possibility that they were bobbing on the water somewhere or trapped underwater. But
Right,
most
when you're
likely,
using a $20 controller to...
most likely it had just imploded. But that story that I believe I read, like, breaking news last week about the sounds coming from that area, that's what made me think. I'm like, oh, maybe they are still alive.
Right.
And then, yeah, it was like another another like two days or so of like, ooh, are they alive? Have we found them yet? Da 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 da. And it was just nonsense.
Right. On a completely coincidental timeline, the same day that the Navy, or that the Coast Guard and Navy came out and said, yeah, they died right away, and we knew it. An IRS whistleblower testimony came forward about Hunter and Joe Biden and the attempts by the Biden administration before he was even president of the United States, working to block any and all investigations into Hunter and Joe Biden.
So on the same day,
an IRS whistleblower that was in charge of a case into Hunter Biden whistle blew that the DOJ repeatedly blocked him from investigating Hunter and Joe Biden.
Holy
That he was
bananas.
actively.
that was the DOJ that was blocking investigation.
Yes, which
into evidence
is
of
curious because the DOJ referred his team and the rest of the IRS to Hunter Biden's laptop in 2018
So
for criminal charges.
the really frustrating thing about this, so there's actually a pre-existing thing in place for this, where the DOJ suspends all investigations into candidates. It was like 90 or 180 days. I think it was 180 days prior to an election.
Right.
So if the candidate makes it to 180 days prior to the election, the DOJ suspends all active investigations involving them.
Because that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that also came out with this, I don't know if it's in this article or if it was in a different one that I read, but one of the really frustrating things about this is that the DOJ actually stopped this investigation more than double that amount of time.
Starting in 2019.
Yeah.
Yes.
They stopped it the day that Joe Biden announced his candidacy.
Okay. Okay. So what you're saying is that the sub story was a distraction from the DOJ being super duper corrupt.
Yes.
And going after Joe Biden's political opponents.
Yes.
What if the thing that they were distracting us from is actually a distraction on what Trump is doing? Is Trump doing something illegal that's worse than Joe Biden?
Well, no, but
That's
CNN
what-
had that audio clip. Of
They
that
finally released the
recording
audio recording that
of
proves
that damning conversation
that proves absolutely
that
nothing.
proves nothing.
Okay.
See,
Well,
there it is. He showed
anyway.
it to him.
He says right there that he could have declassified this document, but he didn't. Does he though?
Right, but he's showing it to him.
Is he though?
But he's not. He even says he's not, and the person's like, "Oh, that'd be crazy to see."
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He has it.
I'm not familiar
Or-
with that clip, but I just thought that
Yeah,
I'd take an angle
it's stupid.
that the media takes for once. I
And
thought
it
that's
was an
fun.
accurate angle that they would take. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, no, the Hunter Biden story, that's distracting us from Trump. Let's get back onto Trump.
But yeah, this is
No, Trump is distracting us from the
this.
stuff that's actually corrupt here.
Yeah. And this IRS whistleblower also points out, there's millions of dollars flowing into various accounts belonging to the Bidens, some of which are being labeled as loans that never get repaid. So then they never have to pay taxes on it because...
They're loans. Yeah,
a
you
loan.
don't get taxed on debt.
Uh-huh.
If you take out a loan, you're not going to be taxed on the loan because you have to pay it back.
And then they double back to where it came from, and it's not listed as a loan from where it came from.
Oh, that is... Is there a legal way to do that?
being one of them. Oh, that's Ukraine. But yeah, this investigation's been going on since at least 2018. I think somewhere in here something's been going on since 2014. But the DOJ drug its feet and did this, that, and the other, and even one of the prosecuting attorneys was telling the Hunter Biden team, hey, they're going to go after you for this. And then they go and delete the information that was related to that so that they couldn't supply it via subpoena because it didn't exist. Oh. Among that was a WhatsApp message to a Chinese partner. Now remember, Joe Biden has said he knows nothing about his son's business dealings.
That was his main talking point during the 2020 election. And I believe the 2022 election, of the people he was endorsing and stuff.
Yes.
Like, he's like, no, I had no idea what my son Hunter was doing, even though he was riding in Air Force 2 to make these deals while I was vice president.
This WhatsApp message provided by the whistleblower to corroborate his claims among 212 pages of documents that he shared in his testimony. It says, and I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge that you will regret not following my directions. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father."
Yep. I believe Hunter Biden's lawyer admitted that's a real text message. Or
Yeah,
WhatsApp message.
and the Senate committee that's looking over this went back to the bank records, and they found that within 10 days of Hunter Biden's WhatsApp message to the Chinese official associated with the CEFC, a CEFC subsidiary sent 2 payments totaling $5.1 million to accounts linked to Hunter, according to records cited. So the guy he was talking to sent money to his bank accounts.
So whoever it was certainly thought that was a credible threat.
And what's fun, if you go and look at this type of story through CNN or something like that, supposed WhatsApp message alleges that Hunter Biden was with his father. No, that's Hunter's WhatsApp account with a message saying, "I am here with my father."
Well, again, clearly, to get into that situation where the person you're talking to believes that's a credible threat, you have to have been leveraging the name of your father for quite a long time and be effective at it. So there's no way, that Joe Biden didn't know about this stuff. I believe the defense right now is oh, he just said his father was in the room. He wasn't actually in the room. Joe Biden still doesn't know. But no, I don't see how that's credible. $1 million payments based off of a WhatsApp message. There's no way that you haven't been successfully leveraging your father's name to get up to those kinds of amounts.
Yeah, you don't just get $5.1 million because you sent a random WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
To someone linked to a company like that.
So, if he's leveraging the position of vice president in there, he has to have been doing it successfully, which means Joe Biden would have had to know. Anyway.
At least during the time he was vice president, if not during the time when he was senator.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I believe that message was sent in 2017. So, he was just barely out of office, but...
He still had his connections.
Still had it. Yeah, exactly. Yes. He still had his connections, and his plans.
Which we found out his connections were the director of the FBI and the Department of Justice, and just about every single alphabet soup agency there is.
Yeah.
Because they actively, like I said before, blocked investigations into the family.
Yes.
Now, Merrick Garland came out after all this and said, this is all just to smudge the good reputation of the FBI. And sure. The whistleblower came out and said, here's 6 witnesses by name that say the prosecutor was blocked from doing his job. Which means either this whistleblower needs to be locked away for the rest of his life, or Merrick Garland is a liar and needs to be locked away for the rest of his life. Well, who am I going to believe first? The one that's given us constant reasons to not believe a damn word he says, or the one that's coming out and risking his life and job to expose a family that is clearly corrupt since the very beginning of their political careers.
Yeah. So in other words, the DOJ is doing the work of protecting corruption within the Democrat Party.
Merrick
particularly
Garland
the president.
can ingest a bag of Richards.
Yes. Yes, he might.
He might.
He might do that.
And Joe Biden. This was just the other day. Had this to say when he was sitting with the Prime Minister of India or something.
I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
What?
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 Hold on. What?
Sold a lot of state secrets and other things that they shared, is what he said there. Yeah.
Like, what? Like, does he think he's joking?
Now, Twitter context likes to point out that after that, he says, now all kidding aside, look. Now, there's a time and a place.
Okay, so Joe Biden basically just said, just kidding, in front of a bunch of world leaders.
It's basically like
it's Tim Apple.
It's basically like saying in Minecraft. That'd be a horrendous thing to do in Minecraft. Now, there's a time and a place for selling state secret jokes. In the middle of being under intense investigation for potentially selling state secrets, I think that's the wrong time to tell a joke about telling.
Could you imagine if
State
Trump had said
secrets.
something like that?
Oh, it'd
like
be
during-
plastered everywhere, and they
during
wouldn't
his
care about the
presidency?
context. Just like every other time he said something, and they took it out of context. To
Oh yeah, pretty
miss-
much everything Trump said during his presidency was plastered everywhere.
especially because it doesn't sound like a joke. It sounds like he's addled and just rambling.
like he's got dementia or something, and now he's got to tell
Yeah.
the truth because he doesn't know how to do lies very well anymore.
Play that one more time. Let's see. I bet I can guess what the guy in his ear is saying.
I was just thanking,
And nobody cares who you're thinking, Joe. Just move on.
I started off without you.
No, you didn't. I'm right here.
And I sold a lot of state secrets.
Oh,
and
God damn it, Joe.
A lot of very important
No,
things
no,
that
no,
we
no,
shared.
no. Now, make sure you tell them that was a joke.
That was a joke, Joe.
Tell them it was a joke, Joe.
Kareen is not going to Joe!
Joe!
Yeah. Yeah. Unrelated to all of this, I'm sure. Representative Darrell Issa has pointed out that Joe Biden has officially lawyered up.
Oh.
He's hired a criminal defense lawyer
Oh.
after being with his son Hunter at Camp David. Huh. Huh. Interesting.
Huh.
But he never knew about his son's dealings, Trevor.
Right. Right.
Yes, and all the times that he said that he never knew about his son's dealings are about to bite him in the ass in the court of law, where everything he said can and will be used against him.
I look forward to it.
They should do a drug test before he testifies.
Both of them, yes.
Why? What's so we can know how much Adderall he's on when he's making his statements.
Shit, right? You should refresh so that you get the one that I sent you to.
I should refresh.
Yeah, your
Refreshing.
email.
Ah. Yes, I will throw that in here. JP Morgan Chase. While billionaire sub was imploding, they had a little oopsie doodles with accidentally deleting 47 million emails, many of which were requested via subpoenas. Some of them linked to Epstein.
What?
Oopsie
In
doodles.
other news,
Oopsie doodles.
Oh, all the evidence is gone. We're so sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead and fine us. We're waiting.
Yeah.
in
SEC
other news-
says, okay, you owe us $4 million on your merry way.
in other news, J.P. Morgan also announced the same day that they had committed a new diversity hire in their IT server department, specifically over their emails. Hillary Clintonian.
Showed up with a bottle of bleach. I don't know.
Bottle of bleach and a hammer. I don't know what's going on.
She was just qualified. That's all I know.
She was asking for phones and server access, and they just let her have at it.
Might have been overqualified.
Might have been overqualified.
Also in the background with JP Morgan, they've reached a $290 million settlement with Jeffrey Epstein victims.
Huh.
So Jeffrey Epstein had victims to all of his sex, trade, slave, whatever stuff.
Trafficking, yeah.
And they were trafficked to nobody, I guess.
Apparently.
Because the victims had accused the bank of enabling sex trafficking by the deceased financier when he was a client.
I mean,
Do they have a case against JP Morgan? Sure, because I hate their stinking guts.
okay, but
I
play
used-
devil's advocate here.
I used to work for a firearms company, and JP Morgan dropped that company and many other firearm manufacturers from their banking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, just because they settled doesn't mean they're guilty, for one thing. And for two, I mean, I don't know that you can really blame a financial institution for the things that people do.
No, not fully. It's just like trying to sue Ruger into non-existence because the shooter used their firearm.
Right, which is the reason why I don't entirely agree with the premise of this, unless they're suing somebody specifically in JP Morgan for being a part of it.
Right.
You know,
but when you
suing the company for lending him money and for having him as a client, I that just opens up a whole nasty can of worms for people going after gun manufacturers and different things like that too. Like you have to call it on both sides.
yes.
Like if we're going to call bullshit for something like this happening to a gun company, we need to call bullshit to this happening to a company we don't like.
Right. Part
You
of
know?
their claim though was that JP Morgan Chase knew what Epstein was doing with the money. And they still financed the sex trafficking, knowing that's what he was doing.
And that's the part where I am in agreement with it.
How-
If they can prove in a court of law that JP Morgan knew, then yes, JP Morgan.
Yeah, do we have any evidence that says
I don't
that
know.
They
They
do?
just
Probably
deleted
in the
47
407 million.
Oopsie
Not
doodles.
anymore. Not anymore. We don't.
Oopsie poopsie.
Okay, I understand that deleting the emails could be an accident, but did you really bleach the servers by accident too? Is that
Well, we now know not to store bleach on top of the servers.
We did not know that before.
and to not use the servers as tomahawk targets for our hammers.
We thought we knew better.
We thought we knew
Apparently
better.
we did
Apparently we
not.
don't.
We've taken corrective action since then. Oopsie poopsie.
And $290 million. I mean, that's nothing. They're donating more than that to Ukraine.
Yeah. They're only joining forces with BlackRock to fund Ukrainian reconstruction. Yeah. JP Morgan executives spent a few days in Ukraine last week. They met with Zelensky and other government ministers and officials in Ukraine and visited a number of Ukrainian cities to assess the damage sustained by the Ukrainian economy. After making some initial assessment, JP Morgan executives discussed at a meeting with Zelensky the creation of a fund endowed with between $20 billion to $30 billion of private capital to help fund Ukraine's reconstruction, according to Fox Business. Other ideas reportedly floated in the meeting was establishing a bank run by Wall Street giants to make investments in various kinds of vital infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and oil refineries.
Yeah. And for people that don't understand why exactly that's frustrating, it's just a private company doing something charitable for a country in need. No, it's not a private company doing something charitable for people in need. This is a bank, which means the money that they're using to do this is your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it comes from the Fed? Is that
No.
what you're getting at?
No, the
your
way
bank accounts.
Yeah, it's your bank accounts. The way that banks fund their loans and fund the investments that they make is by using the money that you have deposited in their bank.
That's why you get interest.
That's why you get interest on any account that you have with the bank, is because when you sign up for a checking account or a savings account or anything like that, you always sign they give you a little sign up document sheet that when you sign it, it gives them permission to use your money
as they see fit.
As they see fit.
Yeah. Can't banks also borrow from the Fed?
Yeah.
To your point, though,
Like, that's literally how money gets created.
to your point,
can.
though, Keith, JP Morgan is one of the 5 banks of the Fed.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Which means the other side of this coin, even if they weren't just a regular bank, they're a Fed bank, which means not only are they using the money that you, if you are a JP Morgan Chase user, have put into their bank, they're using tax dollars to do this.
and we just sent whatever couple $100 billion to Ukraine via cash and supplies. And I'm sure Ukraine is the most up and up honest country in the region.
And they have never once been investigated for corruption.
And I'm sure none of that money that's sent over there is going to go back to JP Morgan Chase, which is a heavy Democrat donor.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, but there's so many layers to why this is wrong.
Yeah.
It's an onion.
The other thing being that JP Morgan Chase and BlackRock are both known investors in private military.
Yes. Yep. War makes them lots of money.
And Zelensky is using private militaries that are funded by JP Morgan and BlackRock.
How charitable.
So they're collecting on both ends here.
Yeah.
And the longer the war goes on, the more money they'll make because they're double dipping in Ukraine right now.
By the way, do you know like how many casualties there have been on the Ukraine-Russia war? I'm looking that up right now.
I don't believe any number that's come out of that because I've seen one where it's hardly any, and I've seen reports where it's thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever. I don't believe any reports coming out of there. Ever since they took the fighter pilot from me, I never believed a thing coming out of Ukraine.
Yeah, it says
The ghost of Kiev.
according to that's no, I think that was like the Obama era that I'm looking at because it said 14,000. Anyway,
Yeah. In other related banking news, federal prosecutors have asked a judge to drop federal charges against Sam Bankman-Fried.
what? The crypto guy
The crypto guy that funded Ukraine.
That was the second biggest like Democrat donor next to George Soros.
Yeah, the guy who owned an organization where the U.S. would send money to Ukraine, Ukraine would send money to him, and he would send money to Democrat politicians who would send money to
And his
Ukraine.
whole operation was a fraud, and it didn't come to light conveniently until right after the midterms.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that scammed over $4 billion out of people. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
His charges were dropped. How is that like? Was it Biden that pardoned him, or how, or was it just some judge?
The federal prosecutors said, "Hey, can you not charge him for this?"
And they said, oh, "Okay."
Because
Is that what happened?
Everybody knows that every prosecutor is always looking for ways to drop charges against the person that they're prosecuting.
If they're a Democrat donor, a Democrat or a Democrat donor.
There's power in the D. Yeah,
I'm surprised Mike didn't jump on that one.
I was waiting for it. He let
Sorry,
it go.
I was actually reading a part of this that is really interesting.
Which is?
So Bankman-Fried had run away to the Bahamas, basically, right?
Right.
Currently, the U.S. and the Bahamas don't have a solid extradition treaty.
No.
So part of the reason why it's getting changed. So they're calling it a punt. They're punting it. They're severing it. But they're punting it to 2024.
So does that mean that the
Is what it
charges
is.
are not
So-
actually dropped?
So it means they're
just
not
gonna
actually
come back?
dropped. It means that
We're just going to
they're-
charge you later.
Yeah, they're charging him later because they need to finalize and solidify a extradition treaty that they've been working on with the Bahamas before they can charge him.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, they can't just send somebody over there to extradite him.
So this means that his legal team is going to have to basically fight two separate legal fights. They're going to have to do one to try the original 8-count indictment later this year, and then they're going to have to do another one in 2024 for 5 counts that federal prosecutors have asked to punt to 2024.
Yeah.
So there's 8 counts that they're currently keeping and trying him for this year, and then there's another 5 that are getting kicked down the road to 2024. So he'll have to go to trial twice for this.
And it doesn't seem to say when in 2024.
Right.
So I'm wondering if it's November-ish.
How convenient.
Right.
December, maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of like when they announced at the time, a supposedly working vaccine right after the election.
Yes. Conveniently. If you still think New York is worth going to,
It's not. There. That's the story.
okay, well, moving on.
That is one big pile of shit.
You just gestured to all of it.
So one thing New York has going for it, if you can somehow ignore the terrible politics,
It's
do
the
have
pride
good
parades.
Pizza.
it's the pride parades. Yes, the pizza, the pizza that you can still get relatively cheap per slice, and it smells delicious.
They still have 99-cent slices up there.
yes, at some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them have upped it to like $1.25, $1.50. But New York City has just announced that pizzerias and other establishments that have wood or coal-fired ovens must cut their carbon emissions by up to 75%. In other words, stop baking delicious pizza.
And New York just became a red state.
New York just got abandoned.
I haven't seen an exodus this bad since California last year.
I haven't seen an exodus this bad since Moses. So one more reason to hate New York. And while
Because
we're
they hate everything that brings joy, including pizza.
And while we're here, let's see who's the better mathematician of you two, shall we?
Oh, it's definitely him.
It's definitely him.
I'm no math magician.
So, you got your handy-dandy calculator ready?
Yeah.
So let's take 22.
22.
22. Okay. Got that?
Yep.
Times 228 billion.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We're
Minus-
at 5 trillion so far.
And then divide that by 2,000.
Okay.
We're at 2.5 billion.
Okay. Now subtract 14.86.
Just 14.86 or
So from what Keith said, the
We're
two,
at
2
negative 12.
No. What did you say?
Well, assuming you meant billion, subtracting billion, we're at
No.
negative.
14.86.
Oh,
just 14.86 total. That's 2,507,999,985.14.
That is the surplus CO2 the surplus CO2 eaten up by
the Earth, or what?
By nature.
by mature trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2.5 billion.
In just the United States.
Whoa, that's just in the United States.
Yeah.
Isn't Canada
the U.S. produces 14.86 tons of CO2, and that 2.5 whatever number you had, that was 2.5 billion, right? That's how many tons of CO2 the trees in the United States absorb each year.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Now, when they tell
did
us-
occur to me when I was like, literally, I remember learning in school before global warming was a whole thing. They told me that CO2 was very good for trees.
It is very good for trees. The funny thing about that is, do you know how much the United States produces every year
Of what? Oh,
of CO2?
Yeah, 14 tons.
14 billion tons.
No, 14 tons.
14 tons.
You're
that
kidding.
was
me.
that number I told you.
Yeah, 14.86 tons. That's how much the U.S. produces every year.
So when all these
So-
green people tell you we need to get to net zero carbon emissions,
We're
are they-
negative net 2.5 billion.
Are we trying to get to destroying all of the trees, of which there are? Oh, what was it?
Oh, I am looking forward to verifying this fact because this is gold.
I will send the links because I just
Because like there's this clip of Greta from a few years ago where she's like, we can't just get net zero, we need absolute zero, which is basically proposing that we get rid of all energy like in the world done by humans, which is totally crazy. But like that's pretty darn like if the scale that you're saying is true, then like we're pretty darn close.
And to put that in perspective, the forest growth in the United States is 380% more than it was in 1920s.
Yeah, that would make sense because we're so much more industrialized
Yes.
these days. And yeah, like I think that like the average person does not understand a sense of scale, like at all.
And that's, again, that's just trees.
Yeah.
Mature trees. That's not saplings. That's not grass. That's not shrubs. That's not
just
flowers.
trees. Yeah,
That's just
like
trees.
all of the plants
Okay, so you want to know something?
absorb CO2.
You want to know something
go ahead.
And the
even better?
22 is the conservative number.
The entire annual global emissions of carbon dioxide from 1940 to 2022 is an average of 37.12 tons. Which means the trees in the United States alone
Can fix the whole world
absorb more CO2
than the world produces.
than the world produces.
And that's in the United States alone.
That's in the United States alone.
That is
But-
bananas.
if you compare pictures of the the U.S. to pictures of China, major cities and whatever.
Well,
So China has the smog all the time in Beijing and whatever else. You look at a picture of it, it's just sprawling concrete. Whereas in the U.S., we make efforts to have some sort of vegetation everywhere, including New York City, which has Central Park, a giant tree forest in the middle of the city.
No, like going back to the lack of sense of scale that most people have. Again, I can't really blame them because like a sense of scale is just not part of common sense. It's just not.
Which is really sad. It should be.
Yeah, so a sense of scale is something you really have to learn. It's like you have to learn a sense of scale for literally every new topic. But I learned, you remember when Utah was going through a drought until very recently. And this was like,
I can confirm there is zero drought in Utah right now.
right now, yeah. We don't know what the future holds, but my understanding is it's going to
Both
be wetter.
reservoirs by my house not only have the bottom drain thing on full blast, but the spillways are fully open.
That
trying
makes
to get rid of water.
That makes
what
more
are you,
sense.
What are you looking at there, Mike?
So the thing I was looking at was wrong. So it's 36.2 gigatons,
Gigatons.
which is 36.2 billion tons,
and we produce 14
over
tons.
those last.
and we produce 14 tons.
That does not sound right. I'll have to verify that, but it would not surprise me if like
Well, of the industrialized
But
worlds, we are the
Either
cleanest.
way,
yeah.
either way,
Industrializations.
the U.S. alone has trees that take care of 2.5 billion tons, which means that there's
Per year.
still per year.
Yeah.
So 36.8 minus 2.5, you're 34 tons. That is still excess.
So if you multiply
34 billion tons,
if
I
you
should
multiply 22 by 3.1 trillion, and then divide by 2,000, that'll give you how much the world actually filters out of CO2.
Interesting.
Which
Anyway,
I'm betting is bigger than that number.
what I was talking about the sense of scale and the drought. So you remember the water conservation efforts where you were only supposed to water your lawn like once a
Slow
once a
the flow,
week or
save
whatever.
H2O.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you look at the amount of scale that actually saves, I saw a graph that was shared by like one of the like someone on a city council of like Salt Lake County.
Right.
So someone pretty high up there. He shared a graph of the proportion of water that was used, and residential plus commercial was like 3% of the water usage in Utah.
You know,
Yeah.
funny story, because of the way that our soil here absorbs water, you actually save more water by watering your lawn twice a day for 5 minutes each time.
Yeah,
Almost
I
like
would
we
be
live in a
surprised.
desert or
Anyway,
something, and it knows how to conserve
The point
water.
is,
Weird.
all of our other water usage was like, I believe it was agriculture and golf courses made up a huge percentage
Yes.
of the water. I think there was one other big category. I don't remember what it is, but the point is, the proportion of water that we're supposedly saving is absolutely inconsequential. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's nothing.
And so, like, the only point of this is to, I don't know, get like public awareness, I guess.
Yes.
You know, like,
Public awareness
But-
and to touch on the feelings to get reelected.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So there
yeah,
you go.
like we could have solved all of our water problems by like cutting like 1% of golf courses or something like that.
New York City is cracking down on pizzerias because they're not producing enough CO2 to counteract the trees in the United States. I don't know. Maybe you could say every pizzeria has to plant a tree in front of their establishment. That might fix it.
Or anywhere. And I understand you can get a tree planted somewhere in the world for like $1. It wouldn't surprise me if those were scams, but
There's an organization that has a drone that flies around and shoots tree seeds into the ground.
yeah. And those cost like $1.
I want that job.
So,
I shoot forests into existence.
so let's see here. Hold on one second. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. That's 100,000 million billion. Okay. Times 48. So you want to know how much CO2 all of the trees in the world filter every year.
Ooh, you did the math.
I did do the math.
20.
This
the
is
average
22 times 3.1 trillion.
The average adult tree filters 48 tons of CO2 per year.
Right. The one I gave you was the conservative number of 22.
Okay. Yeah, so the average tree actually filters 48 tons.
Yes.
3.04 trillion trees in the world. That accounts for 145 trillion 920 billion tons.
Is that more or less than the couple 10 billion that you told us before?
That is a lot more.
Only 1,000-fold more?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is if we keep planting trees, the trees will eventually die because they'll suffocate.
So
what was the number again?
Hold on one second. It's no, I don't have it. Hold on one second. 145 trillion 920 billion tons.
So it's in the trillions.
It's in the trillions.
Okay.
Yes.
I just looked that up, like the amount of emissions, millions of tons of carbon dioxide equivalents, and it looks like it's around the 5 billion mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all a fraud.
Yeah.
That's
Moral of the story, it's all a fraud.
I wouldn't. I don't know how trustworthy these numbers are.
That's
but
just
it's
the
still-
trees.
Yes.
That doesn't even account for all the other foliage
Yeah.
that the world has,
Yeah.
which all eats CO2.
Including algae in the oceans, which makes a ton of oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could literally triple the amount of CO2 we produce.
Uh-huh. And like I said
And
before,
we still wouldn't make a dent in how much
the only places
the
you're seeing
trees
actual issues
take.
with air quality and all that stuff are sprawling cities
with
where there's
limited vegetation.
limited vegetation and or no restrictions or guidelines on how to actually clean the air that's coming out of their factories.
Yeah.
Unlike the United States, which has guidelines and all that stuff, so that coal plants burning in the U.S. produce as much CO2 as, well, you'd have to have multiple coal plants, U.S. coal plants, to produce what one Chinese coal plant produces in CO2. While
There is
also
that.
our plants produce more power than their coal plants do. Huh. Almost as if the more efficient you make dirty energy, the less dirty air comes out of the dirty energy. Because there's less waste. Anyways. Apparently there's a big hoopla about there's this horrid, disgusting Glock switch that turns pistols into full auto. It's disgusting. Where? Vice has this whole thing about tiny Glock switches have quietly flooded the U.S. with deadly machine guns. So it's this little thing you put in your Glock and similar other pistols that make them full auto.
Trevor. That's a great idea.
That's disgusting. Where? They share some horrible stories of police being outgunned because the guy has a full auto pistol, which, is terrible for the police if they're actually doing what they're supposed to do. At the same time, full auto should not be restricted. So, An auto sear, the most common automatic conversion device, transforms a semi-automatic gun into a weapon capable of emptying an entire magazine with a single
Why
pull
have
of
I
the
not
trigger.
heard of these before?
Also known as switches or chips, auto sears have been around since the 70s, but are exceedingly tough to acquire legally in the United States,
Gotcha.
where machine guns cannot legally be owned without a special license. In recent years, these small metal or plastic devices have exploded in popularity on the black market and gained a particular cachet among criminals and anti-government extremists. Last year, members of a Boogaloo Boys in an accelerationist movement that hopes to spark a second civil war used weapons equipped with autoseers to attack a federal courthouse. Okay.
Isn't that called an insurrection?
No. It's insurrection only happens, as Mike pointed out at the beginning, if a podium is stolen.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. It's not an insurrection unless they take the podium with
See,
them.
they never got into the courthouse to take the podium, so it's fine. Oh, where was it? Oh, conversion devices can be installed in many types of handguns and rifles, but they're particularly common for Glock pistols. That's due to the Glock's internal design, which makes its parts easy to access and modify. A Glock spokesperson did not respond to repeated requests for comment. I don't like Glock, but now I might. Hey, can you talk about this? Nah. I just want to get a word on what you think about. Nah. And then they go and show how it works. Oh, hold on.
In the news article, they
show you how it works.
And the tone of this
Right.
this news
Right
is that
here.
these are bad and you shouldn't use them.
This is
let me show you
illegal.
how-
This is highly illegal and should be gone away. Here's how you do it.
Oh my god!
I wants one.
Where'd you learn to do this? Well, a Vice article telling me to not do it. Gosh. That's the icing on the cake right there. Works just like that.
Huh. That's kind of awesome.
Remember, folks, tip of the day. It is illegal to possess a fully automatic weapon. It is not illegal to possess the components for a fully automatic weapon. That's your bit of legal advice. Well, it's not assembled. No, but you shouldn't have it. But I can. Yeah. Anyways, that is your bushel for this week.
Woohoo!
Thanks, Satan.
It's Satine, actually.
Satine, actually.
Well, wasn't that a fun bushel?
It ended on a high note there. This is highly illegal. You should never do it. Here's how you do it.
All right, and that brings us to our segment for this week.
Oh, yes. Everyone's favorite.
And
I took an internal poll, and this is indeed everyone's favorite. It finally surpassed Mike's segment.
And this is going to be the most shocking piece of news that you've heard since the Twitter files. Fact checkers are just political opinion.
And this is knowledge.
Dun dun dun!
He knows.
No, I know what sound effect you're going to use.
However,
Don't do it. When something doesn't work, you need to keep doing it harder and with more intensity. That's what I've learned. Saying, yeah, you disapprove of me, but you bought my plushie. Got sidetracked by the Satanic Temple. Holy bananas. That's bananas, you guys. So that's how I learned eggnog is alcoholic. Did I say a dirty joke without realizing it? I would like to be surprised. This is me trying to be surprised.
Ah, that's easily my favorite stinger.
did I tell a dirty joke without realizing it?
Bananas. It's bananas.
Sorry, I got sidetracked by the Satanic Temple. Knowledge, Keith knows. Keith, fact check us away.
Okay, so I feel like this has been like almost an assumption that we've made that fact checks are they're just terrible. Like we go over this constantly. I thought I'd like dive into the story about how Facebook admitted that fact checks are just lefty opinions. So there's a New York Post article by John Stossel. He is a former Fox News host that has been doing much of his career just basically on the internet.
Ever since
he left Fox. Yeah. And he is my favorite. Like he makes very good points that are very well researched. And in here, he basically tells the story about how Facebook fact checked him. And for the longest time, he didn't sue. So going into the article here, do you have that New York Post article there? It should be the very top one. Fact checks are just lefty opinions. All right. Well, I can just keep talking.
The New York Post Facebook claims?
Bizarrely claims
yes.
Its misquote is opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. So, quoting from the article, this is John Stossel talking. I made a video that said California wildfires were mostly caused by poor government management. Facebook censored that as misleading. They linked to science feedback, so that's like a fact-checking website. That puts the following sentence in quotation marks as if it were something I said. And this is the quote that they fact-checked as false. Forest fires are caused by poor management, not by climate change. And then again, John Stossel talking again. He said, I never said that. In my video, I acknowledge climate change has made things worse. I just argue. So in other words, so John Stossel, he is like, how do I put this? He is very willing to acknowledge left-wing talking points. You know, like he's willing to acknowledge that the climate change
swings
is happening.
Both ways.
Yeah, he's just, let's call him moderate, but still definitely a strong Republican. You know,
moderate with common sense.
Yeah, sure. He acknowledges that climate change has made things worse, but he also argued that government mismanagement was a bigger factor than climate change. Climate change hit lots of forests, but well-managed forests fare far better. That was the point of his video. But they fact-checked him anyway. I asked Science Feedback's reviewers about their misleading label. 2 argued on-camera interviews. When I asked what was misleading about my video, they surprised me by saying they hadn't even watched my video. They offered no defense for posting words in quotation marks that I had never said. I notified Facebook and no luck. Facebook's refusal to acknowledge its mistake hurt because when Facebook fact-checks something, its algorithms make sure that fewer people see that video. It hurt me, but I hate lawsuits, so I didn't sue. So in other words, he didn't say anything that was misleading, but Facebook just didn't like it, and so they misquoted him and fact-checked that, and then his video didn't get any more views because of it.
Kind of like when YouTube suspended one of our videos because they said we had a link to nudity. One of our links went to pornography or whatever. The link in question was the link
Was it
that
a
went.
Pride Parade?
No, the link in question was the link to our online store where you can buy our shirts.
Oh,
because it says The Naked Apple.
Oh,
yes, it was great.
Responded to him. That's our store where there is no nudity unless you consider the backside of an apple nudity.
It had these chubby little butt cheeks. They were just fantastic.
Adorable, really.
Adorable, really, yes. The best apple butt cheeks you've ever seen.
People tell me.
They tell me all the time.
The golden apple, if you will.
The best butt cheeks they'd ever seen. The absolute best butt cheeks they'd ever seen.
You want to know something else fun that's related to the little tree thing we did earlier and what you just talked about with the climate thing and government making things worse?
What?
You ever wonder why so many people are allergic to outside
Yes.
compared to
Are you talking about
decades
like
ago?
hay fever and
Yeah.
plants and
Yeah.
that sort of thing? Why?
Well, are you aware of the program Tree City USA?
No.
As you're driving through various towns, you'll see they'll post a sign of Tree City USA 2013 or whatever.
No, I've been on like 3 road trips, this.
Well, it's even just
last
driving
year or so.
around Utah here. There's cities that'll have that sign post. You'll see them now that I've mentioned it. Anyways,
Okay.
it was a program started by the federal government to plant more trees. The incentive was, though, to plant flowering trees, but not necessarily ones that provided fruit. Government plants flowering trees everywhere. Suddenly, everyone is allergic to outside.
So what you're saying is that the government just wants everyone to be indoors and pale.
Instead of
Dang it.
instead of planting like an oak tree or something like that that provides plentiful shade and grows really big, the incentive was to plant lots of small flowering trees.
So that they would
Could
produce
say,
more
hey, we
pollen?
have the most trees in our city. Here's your award for having the most trees in the
see.
city. Everyone's sneezing.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Government
that-
makes things worse.
Speaking of tangents, so moving on in the John Stossel article. So that was just one example of Facebook unfairly fact checking him. Here's another one that he mentions in the same article. He says, then Facebook struck again. They declared a video I did about climate crisis, with crisis in quotation marks, as partly false. This video, titled "We Are Doomed," said that climate change is real, but suggested that we can adapt to it, as Holland has. That video received 24 million views on Facebook, but after that second Facebook smear, viewership stopped. So in other words, they fact-checked it again as partly false, and then once again, all the viewership stopped. And then, continuing the article, I asked Science Feedback reviewer what was wrong with my climate crisis video, and he admitted that he and his other fact checkers found no incorrect facts. Instead, they simply didn't like my tone.
It's the wrong tone. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the problem...
That's an excellent analogy. Adapt to it like Holland, where what is it? Half.
Well,
or a third
again,
of-
that was part of the video.
Right.
He
right.
basically said that they adapted to a changed climate. Do you know the specifics of that? Because I don't.
Yes, it's something like a half or a third of Holland should be under the ocean right now.
Oh,
But because they have, what Holland is famous for besides their flowers.
that's in England, isn't it? Holland.
No,
Oh,
it is in Europe.
oh, somewhere in Europe. Got it.
It's across the small pond from England. But Holland is famous for their tulips and flowers and all that stuff. But also Holland is famous for their giant windmill things that aren't actually mills. They're pumps.
Okay.
Because what's his face that became ruler of Holland at one point said, I need more land and I don't have an army to conquer land. So let's pump the ocean out and make more land. So that's what they did. They built dikes and levees and then in sections and then built one of those windmill things to pump the water out of there. And they had really fertile soil to grow lots of food. They adapted to their environment.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so moving on with the article. The problem is the omission of contextual information rather than specific facts being wrong. Again, he's quoting what the fact-checking website said. And then John Stossel said, what? It's fine if people don't like my tone, but Facebook declares my post partly false, a term it defines on its own website as including factual inaccuracies. My video does not contain factual inaccuracies. Again, I pointed this out to Facebook, but it changed nothing. So then, of course, he sued Facebook for labeling his videos as false, even though they were not false. And I think now is a good time to show the video that he has.
This one?
Well, actually, one more thing. Let me read one more thing. So the end of this story is that Stossel's lawsuit was tossed out, unfortunately, but Facebook did have to make one clear confession in order to make their case. I'm not gonna go with the legalese from the case itself, but basically Facebook argued that their fact checks are just protected political opinion, which means their fact checks are just opinion, and that's what Facebook admitted in their filing. And so that
You don't have to pay him out for the lawsuit, but you have to admit that you're lying.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's what Facebook did in order to win the suit. And then in this video, I believe this video was created before he read the article, so he actually goes over a lot more examples of terrible fact checks that Facebook has done. And so honestly, John Stossel can explain it better than I can. It's about a 7-minute video. Let's just watch the whole thing.
And it goes a little something.
Take it away, John Stossel.
Reported that Facebook censored me. Now I've learned that Facebook also censors a bunch of people who report on science.
Please welcome Michael Schellenberger.
People like an environmentalist who Time magazine listed among heroes of the environment. That's Michael Schellenberger.
You're going to need a lot more clean energy.
Facebook also censors
a man named one of the world's most influential people of the 21st century.
That's statistician and environmentalist Bjorn Lomborg. And they censor science writer and
New York Times contributing columnist John Tierney.
They accuse all of us of spreading misinformation.
The first two guys
but
are really
really,
good. I don't
the
know
people
the third guy.
guilty of spreading misinformation are Facebook and its fact checkers.
To do the fact checking,
He seems
Facebook
pretty good.
partners with groups like these, all of them approved by something called the Poynter Institute. It calls itself a global leader in journalism and claims it has
a commitment to nonpartisanship and fairness.
But they're hardly nonpartisan. Just look at their website. Their eagerness to honor left-leaning reporters and their push to decolonize the media and change language shows their leftist bias. Poynter once even apologized after it tried to blacklist conservative news sites. Yet absurdly, this is who Facebook partners with to certify who will censor all of us. One so-called fact-checker Poynter approved is this group, Science Feedback, run by this man who says his censors will cleanse the internet.
Tous vos enfants pourront surfer en toute tranquillité sur des vagues d'informations crédibles.
He's the censor-in-chief. His group objected
sure that's
to this
fraud.
article John Tierney wrote that said masking children can be harmful.
More than 10,000 parents said that masks were giving their kids headaches, making it harder for them to concentrate.
Tierney simply cited a study, which later passed peer review, that said masks sometimes cause problems.
Everything I wrote was accurate, and yet they labeled it partly false.
They said the study he cited wasn't good enough because it's not a random sample. Parents' comments may not be representative of the general population. But Tierney had acknowledged that.
It's obviously not a random sample.
You said that.
I said that in the piece.
They censored him anyway. This partly false label is
Well, that would
nasty
require them to
because it
actually
leads
look at the
Facebook
source
to
material.
Stop showing Tierney's work to many people. What
And
should
then
be
bank
labeled
on people
false
not
is
reading the
science
source material.
feedback,
Pretty much.
sloppy fact check.
The worst misinformation is what the fact checkers are spreading. They've got
Amen.
this key takeaway that masks are fine for children over 2 years old.
False.
That's not something that most scientists believe. It's not what the World Health Organization
Never has been,
believes.
never will be.
No, the World Health Organization says kids under 5 should not be required to wear masks. The so-called fact checkers ignore that and don't cite any studies to support their opinion on mask safety.
Meanwhile, I'm citing peer-reviewed scientific studies that have demonstrated something called mask-induced exhaustion syndrome. There are all kinds of well-documented effects of wearing masks.
You're not saying nobody should wear a mask or that masks are useless.
No, but we should acknowledge that
That's what I'm
masks
saying.
do have impacts. You know, workers who wear masks for a couple hours in Germany, they have to stop and take a half-hour break after that. I mean, this shouldn't be a controversial thing to say.
No, but Facebook generally bans it because science feedback doesn't want it said.
They don't want anyone presenting
I don't trust
evidence
anybody
that
that
goes
has a
against
little
their desire
Jedi
to tell people what to do.
Just wear a mask. I shouldn't have
tail
to make it
thing on
fun.
their
It's
head.
science.
They don't want people to see
Jedi
contrary
braid.
evidence.
We know that it's been debunked that this virus was man-made.
Another
was it?
example.
False.
Pointer Institute's thought police declared that the COVID lab leak idea was incorrect. Science Feedback still insists COVID is of natural origin. Facebook eventually banned even discussing whether it might have been man-made until the very day the Biden administration admitted
COVID may have been accidentally leaked from a Chinese lab.
only then did Facebook lift its ban.
They're almost
You're
there.
not like a tree
They'll
hugger
get
kinda
intentionally
guy,
leaked
right?
here soon enough.
I am sort of a tree hugger.
Global warming's another subject Science Feedback does not want people to see certain information about. Michael Schellenberger was censored after he wrote that climate change won't bring an apocalypse.
They censored me for saying that we're not in a sixth mass extinction. We're not.
Climate Feedback
I'm willing to
justified
listen
their
to
censorship
Schellenberger
by
because
citing
he
this
admits
report
that
claims
nuclear
we are
energy is
pushing
the
the
way
planet
forward.
toward
Yeah.
a mass
So
extinction.
I'll listen to his ideas
But
on
a
other
chair
things.
of that group told Schellenberger, we're not in a mass extinction. We don't say that.
You have to have 50 to 75% of all species on Earth going extinct to be in a mass extinction.
They also censor Bjorn Lomborg for saying,
Turns out that when temperatures rise, you're going to see more heat deaths, but many fewer cold deaths. So overall, the rising temperatures have actually saved lives.
Now, it hasn't been proven that the cause of the drop in deaths is the temperature rise. It could have been something else. But so what? His main point, that temperature-related deaths fell while the planet warmed, is true and important. Yet Science Feedback keeps that out of your Facebook feed.
The points that I try to make are the points you don't normally hear. And that's what they hate.
Why do they want to do this?
There's a lot of folks who are very emotionally invested in the climate catastrophe argument. Partly, it makes it a lot easier to get people to donate money and to accept that politicians are spending their tax dollars on climate policy if it's the end of the world.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
They have a mission outside just facts. They also want you to not know stuff. That's not fact check. That's simply saying, we don't want to hear this opinion in the public space. And quite frankly, that's terrifying.
Il nous faut des centaines de milliers potentiellement.
Now Science Feedback's leader says he wants to expand, to censor not just Facebook, but other social media. That makes me scared.
It certainly makes me scared when you look at their track record so far. The goal is nice, that we actually try to make sure we have less misinformation on the internet. But you could very well end up in a place where we only have the approved facts that fit the current narrative. That would be a terrible outcome.
Science Feedback so-called fact checkers
Yeah,
go
or you
well
could,
beyond
I don't know,
checking
have
facts.
people do their own
They're
homework.
trying to suppress people whose opinions and
That's
whose
asking too
evidence
much
they don't
people, though,
like.
probably.
They're not fact checkers, they're fact blockers.
The world doesn't need fact blockers. We need more freedom to speak, not less. Facebook's Pointer Institute censors are now the enemy of open debate.
Da, da, da.
If you like our videos,
you can
please
stop it.
sign up for our...
Okay, so in other words, Facebook admitted that its fact checks are just basically lefty opinion. And to me, this is just another example of the left destroying the credibility of everything it touches. So once again,
Yes.
the fact checks are just lefty opinion, and they censor things that they just don't like. Like if certain facts are going to cause you to come to a conclusion or a paradigm that goes against the narrative, then they censor it. And so this kind of reminds me of like I said, the left destroying the credibility of everything it touches. It just seizes the most credible sounding words they can, like fact check,
fact check.
And it's just lefty opinion. It's kind of also like what Congress does, where they name bills after the most credible sounding names that it can find, like
But it means the exact opposite.
like the Affordable Care Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, Build Back Better. It actually does exactly the opposite. All of those bills that I talked about are just full of pork and do the opposite of what they claim. And honestly, it's also true for literally anything. The reputable organizations that have years and decades of credibility behind them, such as science organizations. But as soon as the left seizes the helm of one of these organizations, they run their credibility into the ground to influence public opinion, if only for a moment. So this is true for everything, for corporations, for media organizations, for think tanks, for the medical establishment, international organizations, etc. And we wonder why, and they wonder why everyone doesn't trust their credibility anymore. And speaking of credibility, guess who funds the fact checkers?
BlackRock.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of layers to it.
The answer that's correct, but not the one he was looking for.
I mean, when I did the digging myself, there are a lot of organizations that fund these places. Some of them are through ads and stuff. But as far as I can tell, the organizations that fund those organizations, it's basically Facebook, Google, and George Soros. Oh, and Bill Gates. Like, those are some major fundings. There's certainly a lot more. Yeah, I'm sure BlackRock is in there somewhere.
So basically, it's we investigated ourselves and determined we have done no wrong.
Yeah. And like they call them independent fact checkers, but really they're being funded by Facebook.
Quite dependent.
Yeah, they're quite not independent. They are independent.
Independent.
And so let's just go over some of the greatest hits of some of my favorite false fact checks that were just lefty opinions. So one of them is the Kyle Rittenhouse gun charge. So apparently, PolitiFact.
Can we call them fake checks now?
Yeah, I would love that. I'm down.
Checks.
Gave a fact check claiming that Kyle Rittenhouse's firearm possession was illegal. That, of course, was not true. And it was reported. Oh, you know what? I think I meant to read it from the article itself. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. So another one was when Biden kept checking his watch during the funeral of the 12 servicemen that he basically killed by sloppily withdrawing from Afghanistan, and that's putting it very kindly.
Not even that. There were stand-down orders. We found out later there were stand-down orders when they had the bomber in gun sights.
Oh, and he would... Oh, my God.
They had a guy that was on the guard tower,
had a clear
recognized him, had a clear shot, and he was told to stand down.
Yeah. And during the funeral ceremony where Joe Biden, the president, the commander-in-chief,
didn't have time for it.
Yeah. He was checking his watch over and over again, and they tried to fact check them on that, but then of course, like the footage got released, and that was
because the moms and stuff were saying that he disrespected them in their time by checking his watch. He didn't do that. Oh, look, here's the video. Well, he might have done that. Hey, look what Trump did, or something. That's probably the response.
And apparently the Huffington Post accused Ted Cruz of lying about court packing. So during that time, we were worried that the left was going to pack the court, which I don't know about you, but I'm still worried about that.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. He's saying they're going to pack the courts. That's not true. Yeah, we actually do want to pack the courts.
And there was also a fact check about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Basically, before they were elected, they were trying to distance themselves from the vaccine that Trump was developing.
I'm not going to take it.
He's like, no, I'm not going to take it. And then after he becomes president, being anti-vax, which they were, was like the worst thing in the world, according to their administration.
To the point where he mandates that everyone gets it. After his own CDC says, yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And then apparently the media also pushed a false Jacob Blake narrative that Jacob Blake was unarmed, which was not true.
Yeah, that's what they do with everyone. Yeah. All of those. He was unarmed.
And I'm not going to read all of them, but I think that gives a pretty good sample of some of the greatest hits. And we haven't even gotten into COVID, really.
That's yeah, that's hit after hit after hit.
Yeah. Actually, before I get into the COVID stuff, another thing that I think is worth mentioning is that apparently the Washington Post ended its fact checking as soon as Biden took office, or its presidential fact checking.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. So apparently they ended like a database of fact checks. And it is in dispute. So I checked the PolitiFact article about this, and what PolitiFact is saying is like, no, they still fact check, but Joe Biden. They just don't have a searchable database like they did with Trump because resources. And then they also like go over how it's indisputable that Joe Biden is being fact checked a heck of a lot less often compared to Trump. But I mean, they do give a point that is kind of valid in the sense that Joe Biden speaks a heck of a lot less often than Trump.
There is that.
And that's true.
he's fact checked less only because he's in front of a camera less.
But anyway, the point is they used to have a searchable database for Trump.
Yes.
For Trump, and they did away with that for Joe Biden because resources.
Yes.
So, and plus, just look at your common sense on this. I do think that's a valid point that Joe Biden speaks a lot less than Trump does. That's totally a valid point.
But only every time he speaks, he lies.
Given the historicity of this, and we all know that the Washington Post is just going after Republicans. The timing is a little suspect.
I just sent you a link, Trevor. That ties in quite lovely.
A link for me?
A link for you.
To throw up on the
big screen? Throw it up and watch it. And hear it.
Oh, what are we getting into?
You're going to love this.
All right. Let's get into it.
It's not very long. It's
a
few minutes long.
I see already it's JP Sears.
It is. It is JP Sears.
Oh.
Like I said, you're going to love this. It's great. Do you have
refresh?
Refresh.
So it starts at the beginning. And
gets the audios.
The audio.
Noticed you not wearing your life jacket anymore. How are you okay? Don't need it anymore. Do you remember me telling you 3 years ago that people have the natural ability to swim?
I remember you dangerously promoting false claims that went against the science.
But now those same claims are in line with science?
Now they are.
Well, because
freedom.
Right now I'm saying people have the natural ability to swim. Wouldn't that
safe
mean
and
that
effective.
3 years ago when I was saying that same thing that I was right?
No, you were wrong. Very dangerously, I might add.
But the thing I'm saying now is correct. So how would saying the same thing 3 years ago be incorrect?
The science has changed.
So does that mean you were wrong for what you said 3 years ago?
Nope, I was right.
Thought so. Because the science has changed. I get it.
Yep. There you go.
Isn't science so fascinating? It keeps changing. Anyway, so going back to thank you for that introduction for the COVID claims that turned out to be false. And by the way, if you tried to say if you tried to counter any of these narratives about COVID, you were censored on Facebook.
Yes,
That's
we
just
are
how it
aware of
worked.
Yes, we are very,
we know
very
that.
well aware of that.
So just some of the greatest hits here is so I'm quoting the narrative. So their narrative during that, which all turned out to be wrong, is that masks work and 6 feet of distance between people will stop the spread of the virus. Vaccines are safe and effective. Vaccine mandates will stop the spread of COVID. The Wuhan lab leak theory. Natural immunity offers little protection compared to vaccine immunity. Young people benefit from a vaccine booster. And are there any others you can think of off the top of your head?
My favorite is the if you're sitting down at a restaurant, you're safe. But if you're standing up in the restaurant, you're not safe. And you have to have a mask when you're standing up, but you can take it off when you sit down.
To be fair, that wasn't like they didn't actually claim that you weren't. It was just a policy thing that they just ignored.
To this day, because of that, I will never set foot in a Outback Steakhouse ever again. Never again.
Never been there.
Or no, not Outback Steakhouse. The was it Wallabies or whatever?
Oh,
I don't remember. Either one. Because I go in there without the mask, and the waitress lady takes us back, and she turns around as she's taking us to our seats. You're supposed to have your mask on. And I sit down in the booth she escorted us to, and took a sip of the glass already sitting there. I'm drinking. Oh, sorry. Walks away. Shut up. Yeah, that's my favorite one.
And anyway, so those are the COVID facts that would get you banned from social media. The climate change facts that would get you banned from social media is claiming that climate change isn't causing mass extinction, as we saw in the video earlier, claiming that humans can adapt to climate change, which, by the way, that was what the lawsuit against Facebook from John Stossel was all about.
Right.
And as mentioned in the video, this is my favorite one, is that if you point out that cold deaths have been dropping and heat deaths have been stagnant, which is a fact, but he was flagged anyway because it gives people the impression that warming isn't a big deal or something like that. So in other words, even factual information that gives you an unacceptable impression or paradigm should be censored, according to these fact checkers.
Right, because you can't say that because it'll get rid of the fear. I'm sorry, you can't say that. That'll instill hope in people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We need them to live in a constant state of fear so that the pharmaceutical companies can make billions off of selling anxiety medication. Oh. Who are you funded by again? Brought to you by Pfizer. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then my favorite story that if you talked about on social media, this would get you banned. Hunter Biden's laptop. That was certainly, I'm giving that like the Oscar of worst fact checks.
Ah, yes. We mentioned this earlier in the show. Yes.
Yeah. So tying all this up with a bow here, let me get this straight. Trump. So I'm trying to like the Trump and the Biden presidency and how it's all coming together and the fact patterns that are acceptable. So let me get this straight. Trump started an investigation while he was president on the corruption charges of Joe Biden, and he was impeached because he was going after his political opponents, even though you need to prove intent, which they never did, to which those same people made Joe Biden president, and then Trump's corruption allegations turned out to be true, and then Joe Biden indicts President Trump and is actively trying to imprison him for committing a crime that he himself committed while President Trump is his key political rival. And it's Donald Trump that's supposed to be the threat to democracy. Did I get that right here? That's what the media want us to believe. Is that right?
You missed one important little thing.
Oh, what one was that?
While he's investigating the corruption, they claim that Donald Trump is doing the exact same corruption that he's investigating, leading people to investigate the corruption that Donald Trump supposedly was doing in Ukraine, only to find the corruption that Joe Biden was involved with in Ukraine.
True. Yeah. And then they suddenly make him president.
He's a threat to democracy. Good. We're not supposed to be one anyway.
So, anyway, to tie this up with a bow here, based on the fact patterns that we've seen, that fact checkers go after Republicans more than Democrats. Well, let me rephrase that. They go after anyone effective at countering their narrative.
Yes.
As we saw with what's his name? Kennedy?
John F. Kennedy?
No. The one that's running for president now. Robert Kennedy. Yeah. And that if they censor facts, if it gives you the impression of a paradigm that contradicts the main narrative, and that we, sorry, let me rephrase that. That and that they censor facts if it gives you an impression or paradigm that contradicts the main narrative. And as we've talked about earlier in the show, we're big believers of the New World Order, and fact checkers are largely funded by Bill Gates, Soros, Google, and Facebook. These people are trying to censor all facts and paradigms that go against their approved narrative. And so I don't know about you, but I want to understand all the things that are true that go against this narrative. My question for the rest of you is, how can we use true information to counteract that controlling narrative?
Yes.
So that is my my question that we should all muse on.
How to use correct information to counteract
their controlling narrative, yeah.
You beat them into submission with it.
Love it.
Yes. Kind of like what they're doing with the cis terminology.
Oh, yeah, that's...
People are trying to
I don't have to use your dumb words.
People are trying to say that Elon Musk is censoring free speech by saying cis is derogatory, while Elon Musk is just pointing out that it is a derogatory term, and if it's used in a manner to be derogatory, it's going to be flagged by our Twitter stuff, just like any other derogatory term. Yeah. You can say it about yourself all you want, but if you're going to say it in a way that's degrading to somebody else because you can't come up with an argument against their true facts of you're a man whether you like it or not. Well, you're cis whether you like it or not. You are a man or a woman, whichever you're arguing with, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. You know what I would love to do? Take someone that like uses those gender ideological terms, and there's like a feature in your phone where if you type a certain word, you can have it automatically like replace it.
Yes.
With that word. So have them like whenever they say cis man, it like replaces it with man.
With Chad. It's Ultra Chad.
That would be an amazing.
Well, thank you. No, I meant Ultra Chad. No, Chad.
No, I did that to a family member once. Like I changed like the THEY to they, like the spelling it wrong, THAY, you know, like a third grade mistake. And it drove them absolutely bonkers for like months.
No, I don't. I don't completely subscribe to devil worship, but I do dance with him often. It's just subtly evil, and it's
anyway
beautiful.
That was one of my juvenile pranks when I was young.
So that when was you were young. Yeah. When you were young.
Yes. I was in my 20s.
I love it. Makes me have ideas because I'm about to go on a family trip. I think it's my sister's phone. She's got a new message app or something, and it keeps on the group texts and stuff with the family. This is going to send a acknowledgement that you read the text or whatever. Why? Who? When? Why? And then she messaged me individually once and says, you. She claims she's fixed it, but no, not fixed. Not fixed. So I might have to dabble in some tomfoolery with changing words on her phone.
I would do it.
I would do it.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to the show.
I think her husband does, and he'd probably be all for it.
Oh, okay. So he'll be in on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Aaron.
Exactly. Well, that was beautiful.
I like it.
That was enlightening. In fact, it was even knowledgeable, Keith. This has been Knowledge. Keith knows. Maybe. No.
This time it's not my fault.
It's not. It's mine.
No, I know what sound effect you're going to use.
However,
don't do it. When something doesn't work, you need to keep doing it harder and with more intensity. That's what I've learned.
That's what she said.
Of me, that you bought my plushie and got sidetracked by the Satanic Temple. Holy bananas. That's bananas, you guys. So that's how I learned eggnog is alcoholic. Did I say a dirty joke without realizing it? I would like to be surprised. This is me trying to be surprised.
Don't push that button.
My greatest hits.
It is. Oh, splendid. So, yeah. When you realize something, moral of the story for the episode, I guess, when you realize something was probably more of a distraction than it was useful information, start digging into what you missed during the distraction, and you might find a house of cards that's imploding on itself deep within the deep state. And when you're told that you're wrong, when you know that you're right, keep saying the right thing, and eventually they'll have to admit, okay, yeah, you're right, but you're using the wrong tone. Okay. Okay, Karen. Right?
That makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me. Oh, and climate change is an absolute sham. At least the CO2 part is. Yep. Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah. Mostly less. Or more.
Yes. That's what I said.
That's what I said. Well, that's it. That's all we got for this week. And we will be recording another episode for you for next week because we won't be here. But the episode
Nazi fags.
And we'll miss the end of Pride Month. Darn it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad that's what that button was.
What was that again, Joe? I think we missed it.
Nazi fags.
Thank you. The end of Pride Parades is almost here.
That is sound.
Oh, actually, no, that's not true. The like, who's that transgender general that in the Biden administration? Anyway, they declared
Richard Levine.
Yeah, I think so.
Dick Levine, if you will.
Dick Levin. Wow.
Anyway,
his name is Rachel. Oh, his name is Rachel.
Apparently, he just declared a summer of Pride.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
You done messed up, Aaron.
So I'm sure everyone in America is excited for that.
Nazi fags.
Thank you.
All right. Well, anyway, we won't discuss that topic.
Get some help.
So long, gay boy.
On that note,
like and subscribe, everyone.
Yes. And next week's episode will be a slice of history on the price of freedom.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Yes. So it'll be highlighting those that have gone above and beyond the call of duty and willing to sacrifice life, liberty, lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the term. So look forward to that.
you know, I need the sound effect from Halo when you shoot the grunt and his head explodes like a party popper.
Yay! Like, subscribe, social media things, YouTube, whatever.
All the fun stuff.
Emphasis on the F.
Yes.
And the U.
Yes.
Not you, but them.
Yes.
Bye! The light is red.
Light is red.
We're in the red light district now.
Ha 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 ha.
Hum.
Ha 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 ha. Ah.
So So did you hear about the drama that happened in the 2nd District?
No.
So our
okay.
in Utah.
I was thinking Hunger Games for a second. Waiting for a punchline. I'm with you.
No.
I follow.
No, like in the convention, they apparently elected someone that wasn't even a resident of Utah. And like there was all this talk about how like, oh, we need recourse. She wasn't a valid candidate because she wasn't even registered as a Republican until after she declared her candidacy.
Oh, by the way, I'm Republican now.
And that was in June. Yeah. And now suddenly she's going to be the Republican nominee for the 2nd District, and that basically means that she's going to be our representative for the 2nd District.
How about you?
And everyone is super mad about it, and I still don't understand like how that happened. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that it was a selection and not an election, and because I can't find anyone, and I'm like pretty deep into the delegate culture in Utah, because I haven't heard from anyone like make a conservative argument about why she's going to be great. I'm kind of like playing around with believing those conspiracy theories. Like, granted, it's not my district, you know, so like I guess in that sense that it's understandable, but you'd think there would be someone that would lay out why she's going to be the best conservative.
You've been hanging around us too long.
Yeah,
everything's a conspiracy. Dang it.
Well, I mean, if the shoe fits.
Change my mind.
But no, like it literally says in the rules that she's not a valid candidate, or rather, something like your candidacy can and should be rejected if you're not if you're not a resident of the state, or if you're not a registered Republican.
Right.
But I guess the rules state that because her candidacy was accepted, she is now like a valid candidate.
Well, yes,
like they made her a valid candidate by accepting her.
We just went through that in
ignored the
2020.
rules.
Because it was accepted, it's now legal.
Yeah, pretty much. And so now there is no recourse as far as I can tell, and people are mad.
I like Mike's reaction. just an upturned lip. Yep.
Sounds about right.
Doom, 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 doom. Oh, I got to make sure I have. Got to make sure I have a thing ready.
Did you find it?
No.
Has it been found?
It has not.
Do I need to stop recording?
No.
Yes. What are we talking about?
Yes. Do it. Very, very good.
Where are you? Nope. There it is. Let's go ahead and pin you to quick access so I can find you more better. Had to have something prepared for later in the episode.
Oh, I've got something to share with you guys now that we all have our headphones on.
Now that we're all here.
Connected to my phone, so I can share this with you and you can actually hear it. This is awesome.
Your phone is connected to the sound system now?
And it always has been.
Oh.
I usually just mute the Bluetooth line so that it doesn't go off.
Nifty.
Insert astronaut meme. Always has been.
Convicted child offender Jack Reynolds did an interview where they asked him what sort of characteristics did he look for in a child before targeting them. And he said, more important than the characteristics of the child, he looked at the characteristics of the family. The first thing he mentioned was that if he perceived the father to be a threat, he stayed away. Which tells us a few things, dads. One, you better be a threat. But two, you better be present enough in your child's life to where they know you're a threat. And I would say it tells us one more thing that's very interesting. There's a lot of people right now that seem hell-bent to have sexual conversations with our children without our knowledge. Those are the same people telling us that the very things that make you a threat are manifestations of toxic masculinity. So maybe we shouldn't listen to those people.
Whoa.
Convicted child offender.
We're
So what
coming
you're-
for them.
So what you're telling me is that pedophiles have been leading the feminist movement all along.
Yes.
Shocker. This is my shocked face.
They've been falling for it.
Yes.
Moral of the story, eat more red meat and get your kids to eat it too.
Hey, my 3-year-old's favorite food is hamburger. So,
You ever watch Hogan's Heroes?
no.
Ah, dang it. You won't get the reference then. It's my
Hey, I am trying to catch up on as many references as I can
well, that one's more of an obscure one.
from a lifetime of not caring.
Did you ever watch Recess, the animated?
Yes, that one I know.
Recess is based off of Hogan's Heroes, which is an old 1950s sitcom based off of prisoners in a POW camp that were actually there. They were there on purpose for spying purposes.
Interesting.
They intentionally got captured.
Yeah,
to be
my
spies.
kids think I'm really cool. You know how cool my kids think I am? You know what their nickname is for me at home? Dr. No. Dr. No. You know why? Because I give them a lot of no. A lot of kids get too much yes. I give them no.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the gift of no.
The gift of no.
Parents, it's easy. Daddy, can I have that?
No.
No. Can I have the keys to the car? Let me check here. No. Can I go over there? Nope. Can I spend the night over there? This old man, he said no. Get creative, man. Eeny, meeny, miny, no. Now you're just somebody that I used to. No. There are so many fun ways to say no.
What comedian is that?
Yeah, my kids think I'm really cool.
Tim
You know how cool my
Hawkins, I
kids think I am? You know what their
I don't think
nickname
I
is
have-
for me at home? Dr. No.
No. No.
Just Dr. No.
But I
Eeny,
really
meeny.
want to. But I really said no.
Eeny, meeny, miny, no. Now you're just somebody that I used to. No.
I go through that sometimes with my oldest, and he'll ask the question again right after I say
Asked
no.
and answered.
And what did I just say? Well, what if you can rephrase it however you want? I said no.
The answer remains ever immutable. No.
Can you spell on backwards? Yeah. Anyway. With that knowledge out of the way.
Any Hooters?
Oh, wait. Oh, gosh. I am so out of practice.
I was waiting for you to give us the clap.
It has been given.
We've got the clap and we're giving it to
I was
you.
waiting for you to give us the clap. I'm isolating that. You're welcome.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Chlamydia?
Chlamydia?
All right. Well, on that note,
onward.
It's onward.